Five officers of the Kerala police who became notorious for their alleged role in ISRO spy case are now waiting their nemesis as CBI submitted a charge sheet against them at the Chief Judicial Magistrate Court, Thiruvananthapuram. Does that mean justice has been served finally in the case? Absolutely not. Justice will be served in the case only if the prosecution is able to prove the charges before the court and the court pronounces a judgment against the accused finally. Now, the charge sheeted officers include two former DGPs who are one CB Matthews, who was a Kerala cadre IPS officer, second KB Srikumar, who was a Gujarat cadre IPS officer who was working in CIS of ISRO when the case was registered. The case also involves two officers who retired as superintendents of police. They are one S. Vijayan, who was a circle inspector when the case was registered, and another is KK Joshua, who also retired as an SP. Then one more officer of IB, Jayaprakash, has also been charge sheeted in the case. The CBI inquired the case and charge sheeted the accused following a directive of the Supreme Court of India. Now, actually, this is only tip of the iceberg in ISRO spy case. In every criminal case, there is the issue of motive, and now there is also an issue of who eventually benefits by the criminal act. Now, I think it's in this case also we need to look into what was the motive of the case and who eventually benefited by the case. When we analyze those aspects, we could easily, even any layman can easily understand that the eventual beneficiaries of ISRO spy case were number one, foreign countries who benefited because of the delay in the cryogenic engine program of India. That is number one. The second group that benefited out of this case is politicians. So that is why I said the present investigations of the CBI has revealed only the tip of the iceberg. Even the names of eventual beneficiaries and their role, if any, in fabricating the case has not been discussed. Now, there was another group also who perhaps connived, and surely they were actively involved in the case. They were journalists in Thiruvananthapuram at that time who reported the case and who probably might have benefited by the case in many ways, professional and personal. Now, let's take a closer look into what happened in the case. Welcome to Insights. This is Hari Kumar. Let's start with the CBI charge sheet submitted in Chief Judicial Magistrate Court, Thiruvananthapuram. As per reports appeared in media, the CBI said the case arose from the sexual frustration of a police officer named S. Vijayan. S. Vijayan was a circle inspector at the office of City Police Commissioner at that point of time. So he was looking after the immigration department. That made him very influential. Many influential people who wanted to go to foreign countries used to approach him, and he would help them, most of the people, especially the influential people. That was how he developed a connection with the media in Thiruvananthapuram, because many journalists would get opportunities for foreign travel, but they would not have passports. At that time, there was not, the Talkal Seva scheme was not there, available. So they would approach Mr. Vijayan, and Vijayan would do whatever needed for them, getting their goodwill. Perhaps that was one of the reasons why journalists in Thiruvananthapuram swallowed everything that Vijayan told them, hook, line, and sinker. Now the CBI said the entire case began with Vijayan charging case against two Maldives natives, Mariam Rashida and Fauzia Hassan, for overstaying in India after their visa period expired. Now that could have ended as a simple case because sometimes people would forget, or some other reason they might have forgotten to renew their visas after the stipulated period. Those two ladies came to Thiruvananthapuram for treatment, for medical treatment, and it was natural that those who were having health problems would forget certain things, though they were mandatory. Now, Vijayan would have ended silently had they agreed to what Vijayan said. Vijayan wanted to have sexual relation with one of the ladies. According to media reports, Mr. Vijayan even tried to molest her, but she resisted. So that made Vijayan angry. That lady was actually working in security services in Maldives. So she might have felt that it was not good to yield to her ego also might have been hurt, or she might not be the type who yields to the wishes of each and every person. So this was really insulting the modesty of a woman. It was insulting her self-respect. She resisted. The entire case started from there. Now an angry Vijayan slapped various clauses on that lady, and that was the beginning of ISRO spy case. So when the police investigated the case during a raid, they found that those ladies had made some calls to some ISRO scientists. The police followed it up. The rumor in the grapevine in Thiruvananthapuram is they had some relations with those scientists, but the relations were nowhere in the nature of spying. It was something else. I am not going to explain it. I don't know about it, so I can't explain it. But certain people sensed an opportunity in the case. From there, the case began to expand. The scope of the case increased exponentially. Certain political leaders in Thiruvananthapuram realized that this was a great opportunity for them. Now, they also encouraged these police officers. In the meantime, there were reports, some of the media people in Thiruvananthapuram say, Mariam Rashida filed a complaint with City Police Commissioner against Mr. Vijayan. So, Mr. Vijayan was in the dock. The City Police Commissioner of Thiruvananthapuram at that time was Mr. S. Rajivan. Mr. Rajivan was known to be an upright officer. So, Mr. Vijayan had to prove that he was innocent. Otherwise, Mr. Rajivan was not known to protect those who were found guilty. So, at that point of time, Mr. Vijayan invoked the spy charges because there was no way for him to escape from the molestation case. So, that was the beginning. But who benefited out of it? Of course, these police officers might have really benefited in many ways. Let the CBI prove it. I don't think it was just a sexual frustration. Could be more serious charges could be involved. Because if you look at who benefited, then those who benefited from the case were mighty people. So when mighty people were involved, those who acted as their minions would have got great benefits also out of this case. There is enough reason to doubt or think like that. Now, who were the people who might have benefited? As I said earlier, by sabotaging the cryogenic engine program of India, Western powers were the first who would have benefited. Like the European Union, they have got the capability to deliver satellites to Earth synchronous orbits. So they might have benefited. That is the European Union. Then, or the United States would also have benefited. That is NASA. Those were the two countries who used to take up satellites of other countries and deliver them to Earth synchronous, geosynchronous orbits. Now, even India, even now depends on French Ariane rockets to deliver satellites to geosynchronous orbits. Those satellites which are more than 5 ton weight. India's GSLV doesn't have the capacity to deliver such satellites. Now, you see, even now India has not been able to build such powerful satellites or develop semi-cryogenic engines which are used in such rockets. At that point of time, India was developing a cryogenic engine, and even the cryogenic engine was developed only after 2010. So you look at the delay and who benefited. Certainly European countries benefited out of it. Now, you cannot blame anybody if they say that some European country or some Western nation was behind the whole ISRO spy case. Now the accused become, the oppressors or the police officers. Now, if you look at that angle, might have benefited in many ways. It is for the CBI to inquire into all those aspects. Now, who were the second group that who benefited? Certainly politicians, certain politicians in the Congress, and we can pinpoint them as belong to a group of the Congress, because those people were in perpetual fight against K. Karunakaran, who was the chief minister, and they were trying to sabotage Karunakaran. This was a golden opportunity for them, and they went all out against Karunakaran. And Karunakaran eventually had to abdicate his position as chief minister of Kerala. Now, afterwards, A.K. Antony became the chief minister. I am not directly naming A.K. Antony, but certain cohorts of Antony might have been involved in fabricating the case. So, it is for the CBI to inquire into all those aspects. Now, there is a very serious role of the journalists in Thiruvananthapuram at that point of time. I don't know whether CBI had investigated into that aspect. Those journalists in Thiruvananthapuram who swallowed everything police officers provided them, hook, line and sinker, were definitely responsible. They didn't ask the questions that were expected out of them. They didn't ask. Now, I know a few journalists in Thiruvananthapuram who asked me what was the contribution of Nambi Narayanan to ISRO space program. I told them that his seminal contribution was the development of Vikas engine. Vikas engine is the workhorse engine of ISRO, which is still used in PSLV and GSLV rockets. This was designed and built by a team led by Nambi Narayanan. Of course, that engine was not totally indigenously developed. The engine was the basics of the engine were bought from France and redesigned and developed by India. But India ISRO scientists led by Nambi Narayanan made it a perfect engine, and that is still in use. That is still the workhorse engine of ISRO. So that underscores the contribution of Mr. Nambi Narayanan to India's space program. So now that aspect is clear. Those journalists didn't reply when I said that. The second aspect is they used to ask that, they used to spread the fallacy or canards that Nambi Narayanan has stolen the cryogenic engine technology and gave it to somebody. Because those foolish journalists, they didn't realize that India didn't have the cryogenic engine technology at that time or even 10 years later. So how could you sell something which you do not possess? This is a very pertinent question. So even those journalists didn't ask. The problem at Thiruvananthapuram was, Thiruvananthapuram didn't have science journalists. Thiruvananthapuram had journalists who were doing politics, Kerala politics. They knew nothing more than that. You look at reports that come from Thiruvananthapuram. They don't report on space. They don't report on aviation, though there is an airport here. They don't report on maritime. There are not journalists who have knowledge of these specific domains in Kerala. People who know the simple politics of Thiruvananthapuram city or Kerala, they are here, they will reproduce whatever told to them by some politicians. This is the style of journalism. So, some of those journalists who reported the ISRO spy case might have done it unwittingly because of lack of knowledge. There were some people who got the benefit also. The police or the CBI should have inquired into that. Many journalists who worked in Thiruvananthapuram at that point of time have told me that there used to be a place near Thiruvananthapuram Medical College where the police and the security agencies used to brief the media, and they used to entertain media people also. There was also one official of the Intelligence Bureau, Central Intelligence Bureau, who was actually actively involved in this case. He later became a journalist. This is the sarcasm of the whole story. So the whole ISRO spy scam, as revealed now, is just the tip of the iceberg. More serious issues were involved in the case. If the case is properly investigated and all those aspects are reinvestigated, perhaps that would shake an ecosystem of corruption, anti-national or treason that exists not just in Kerala but in the country. This will help us to remove a blemish that has affected our space agencies and DRDO and other very important, strategically important centers or agencies. Because even now I feel that it was because of the personal interest shown in the case by Prime Minister Narendra Modi that at least part of the conspiracy has been exposed in this case. Otherwise, the entire case would have been forgotten. You need to remember that the ISRO spy case investigated by the CBI. In 1996 itself, the CBI had submitted a report in Supreme Court of India that the whole case was fabricated. But the police, the Kerala government didn't take, or the central government didn't take any action against police officers who actively connived and trapped innocent scientists, prestigious scientists of the ISRO in the case. They were not simply witch hunting their opponents. Perhaps all those might have started with the witch hunt or sexual frustration of one officer. But from the available evidence, a sea of evidence or sea of facts, as reported by the mainstream media and before us, it is evident that there could be possibly a larger conspiracy, and nobody had inquired into it. What I feel is that those journalists who were involved in the case needs to be questioned. One IB officer who supplied those IB officers, especially the one which I indicated, who supplied journalists with all the information, they need to be questioned. Then only more things will reveal. You would be shocked to know that the first newspaper, the name of the newspapers who reported the event at first. First it was Deshabhimani. Of course, we can understand the temptation of Deshabhimani to report the case because they could easily target K. Karunagaran or the India's national security setup at that point of time, because they could blame the national and state political leaderships of the Congress at that point of time. The second newspaper that reported at this ISRO spy case was surprisingly Janmabhoomi. This is said to be a nationalist newspaper. Those people should have inquired, should have asked properly, should have inquired properly before reporting. They didn't do it. I won't blame the entire state BJP leadership or Janmabhoomi management. There could have been a couple of journalists in the Janmabhoomi at that point of time who had a vested interest. Then another man who later became a journalist, who was a top journalist with Janam TV, he was also involved. He was also one of the first person who, at that time, he was with the IB. He was also said to be the man who supplied journalists with information at that point of time. So I hope the matter would be taken to logical end. Poetic justice will be served only if each and every aspect of the conspiracy is revealed. Now, let's hope that with the, since there is the active interest of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in delivering justice in the case, eventually justice will be served in the case. Let's wait for that. Let's wait for the court verdict. Till then, let's not name anybody, not hold anybody as responsible for all these issues. Let's wait for some time. We'll do another video afterwards. Goodbye for now. Thank you.